Hello guys and welcome to TFT Macao Open Grand Finals, Final Lobby, Game 1. Enjoy.
So there's going to be a lot higher capped boards. The question is what style augment here, and title starting off with a Kog'Maw. Kog'Maw again been a pretty good favorite for that stage 2 and stage 3 power. If you can get an Automata emblem, that can really help as well.
And Mini actually won a couple of games on the Kog'Maw reroll build. It's really interesting because over the tournament, Kog'Maw has been one of those champions where it has been harder to hit, but Mini has definitely pulled it off. And we forgot to mention, he is rocking the DSG title at this point.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah, this guy always makes sure that they make finals, one way or the other.
I mean, Chloe, you were talking to him yesterday. He was kind of alluding to it, saying, oh, I'm going to take the jacket from Akun and just give it to someone else. But Mort.
This is a big deal because we saw he sold the Kog'Maw to hit econ, but then dropped 2 more 3 costs, which means this is an econ oper on top of Scuttle Puddle. So generally what happens here is every player pretty comfortably can get to 20 gold. You can even get pretty extreme and have like 30 gold on 2-1 if you want. You're going to be down items here, but so when we talk about that gold economy, a lot of these players, these challenger players, really know how to take advantage of this. So this is going to be even more extreme than a typical Scuttle Puddle game. So if we see something like even a gold augment, but let alone a prismatic augment, this could get wild.
I always find it really interesting, you know, the decision trees like on something like this, because you can also say, you know what, I'm just going to like full sell except for 1 unit and clear and make super early econ, but then you're going to get punished sometimes very heavily by someone who hits a stronger board and is getting the additional items. So when you have these econ openings, you know, it's always interesting to see how pros are going to manage that. You know, how much HP are they willing to lose? When are they going to actually do a slight roll to try to catch up? And it is going to be silver augment.
Yeah, the fact that it's a silver augment here kind of pushes that back a little bit. But again, the fact that most of our players are already at like 20, 25 gold here, that's going to be pretty nice. Yeah, Band of Thieves here is a pretty safe choice, especially knowing that there aren't a ton of items out there. That's just some nice combat power in the early game to be up a little bit of extra items here. And you can look on the right side here, for example, title 23 gold. That's going to give him a pretty big edge early on. And we're getting a look at our augments here. Big one to call out here is Sidera with the power up. We've seen that before, which does mean the next augment will not be prismatic. So we know that information as well.
I feel like every time I kind of roll the dice on that, you are just praying for the next one to be gold.
Yep.
Because if the difference between a gold and prismatic feels so much bigger than a silver and a gold. So we'll see if he's able to kind of hit the lotto on that one.
Yeah, I 100% agree here. In fact, going from silver to gold is a lot less common, but when that happens, it hurts pretty bad. It feels like you didn't quite get the value you were hoping for. But we saw, you know, yesterday power up leading to that prismatic, giving a pretty good edge to the players who were able to hit it.
I don't actually know. Like, what is the odds on it being like? Is that something
that I don't know? If you pick it on 3-2, it's always prismatic.
No,
yeah, if you pick it on 3-2, it's always prismatic, powered up.
Don't think that's true because
no, it's true. It's true. I checked it a lot of times. Unless it's
you're trying to throw down with the man who makes the game.
I was going to say,
there are definitely silver blank games. So on 2-1, it definitely can't be. And there's no silver. You're saying on 3-2.
Yeah, I'm saying 3-2.
Okay,
yeah,
yes, that's correct. Because there's nothing that's silver.
You said I'm correct.
Yes, that is correct. But this is 2-1, not 3-2.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
On 2-1, so someone asked me this yesterday, and I didn't know off the top of my head, but I believe it's about 25-75.
So 25 that it's going to be another silver,
right?
And 75 that's going to be a gold.
Approximately, I believe. Okay. So
the
odds are
quite good.
Yes,
yeah, that's something that's interesting because it is an augment that I like, but I've never actually known the exact numbers on it. I just believe in the heart of the cards.
You can get punished sometimes, but most of the time it's good.
Yeah.
When I asked about Lilo, the CN caster said that he's the most un-CN player ever because he is known as HP preservation and high tempo. Not really the best cap necessarily, but he's always making it in. If you look at his stats, he's like 5% first place and then 6% 8th place, like the perfect tournament style.
I mean, it's so interesting, right? Because, you know, in this checkmate format, you need to be good at both. You need to be good at, you know, getting to checkmate, but then a fourth isn't going to do it anymore. A third's not going to do it. A second's not going to do it. You need to win. So you really do need to be a master of both styles. And I think that is where, you know, understanding your spot, understanding, you know, how to play towards those win conditions becomes so incredibly important.
Yeah, I totally agree here, and especially we've seen so many times with the checkmate format that the person who hits there first usually does really, really well, ends up at like top 2. In fact, it feels like between all the championships and the Vegas Open, the Vegas Open was the only time it felt like somebody kind of came back from about that like 4th or 5th place spot with Malala winning on that Game 7. So
But
generally, though, we've seen Checkmate do pretty well.
Was also due to several conditions, right?
Yes.
Kevin Parker keeping the tournament alive with
Humbug
that
as well,
legendary Yone,
Yep.
Humbug clutching back up. Like, there was so much going on there that enabled this comeback to happen.
I mean, it's one of my favorite things about the format, too, is that once you're in check, you could become enemy number one. Like, everyone knows the tournament is over if you win, and you have to stop that person.
Oh.
Oh, Title gets a pan off of the carousel.
Yeah, we'll see what he wants to do with that, because he is very rich at this point.
Yeah, a lot of gold to work with here, and a pan opens up some interesting options. Primarily, Bruiser Emblem's been kind of the most popular, but there's definitely a lot of options here. And we even saw him yesterday, you know, play the Ambusher line that has generally not been as popular using that Camille, but he took that into a really good, you know, second place as well. So some good options.
And I feel like the Bruiser option is actually really nice for a game number one. We don't have to be going necessarily for a first place. You know, Mundo, Twitch, Bruiser is not really super contested at all. So many people are playing emissary lines, and you often are going to have a good chance of being able to 2-star your units. And if you 2-star, you're going to be able to finish top 2, or excuse me, top 4, I think, for sure.
And I want to mention the Sentinel one. I feel like this is the first set where you can actually build into the Sentinel emblem. A lot of people forget that one. Really popular with the Heimer and the Academy builds.
And the Renata reroll, some people are playing that as well to even fit in there.
Getting a look at this board here, we do see the 4 Conqueror, and again, I've always talked about how I'm a big 4 Conqueror fan. He
I
actually
was going to say, we have an early Swain. Mort, you want this one?
Yeah, but he does actually swap it back out for the Automata just for a little extra front line, using the Sorcerer to get a little bit more damage on Swain. Up against Lilo here, and you know, that Rebel side on the other side here with the set 2 is just going to be too much to deal with here, and so going to continue the streak. Our other Chinese player does get their streak broken, so only 1 win streaker right now.
I mean, honestly, you know, having the early Thieves Gloves from your Augment and then hitting a 2-star 2 cost like that, like
really
especially
good.
a melee 2-star 2 cost, pretty much guarantees you're going to be streaking. It's so powerful.
Now, right now, we're looking at our 2 players here who are both on a loss streak. And again, we talk about how rich they are. They're already at 50 gold here, but they still want to have that loss streak. So if they match up against each other, who's going to be the weaker player?
Someone's going to sell, I feel like. Because, I mean, they're both trying to grief their positioning so hard, and then at a certain point, it's like, do they run into each other? No, they don't.
They do not, so...
Oh, it's actually 3 players on 4 losses.
So one of them
Sidera and Stellarmini are running into each other, and Title just kind of comes out of that try-contest.
I think Sidera is going to win. He didn't actually grief his positioning, but he did have the Draven in the front line, and these Morganas are getting a lot more done, so it looks like it's actually going to be Sidera that is going to lose, so really good for him, because he's going to get quite a good loss.
Yeah, definitely.
That's actually close. Is the Swain going to kill them both? Oh, no.
I think Swain is stronger here.
Nope.
Wow.
All right, so DSG getting a good start here, keeping that loss streak going. We see Title as well with that loss streak here, so plenty of gold to work with here. And again, a lot of our players already in that 60 gold range. So now the question is, how do they convert it here? We're going into the Scuttle, which generally gives like a gold orb, for example, at some point throughout the game. Are we going to see some spatulas, some frying pans, some artifacts? Lots that could happen here.
I think the big question for me is, does Title find a component he can use with a pan? Last time we saw his board, it was still unslammed, so has that pan open? You try to get something you can use earlier so that you get the benefit of it earlier and then can come back. Would be interesting to see that.
He did have the econ opening, so generally you do kind of catch up on components, you know, at this point. So he should be able to get quite a few components. You know, there's a good chance that he's going to have some slammable items. But my question for Title is, like, how deep do you go in the loss streak? Do you start trying to build a board now? Do you do a slight roll? We're seeing Stellarmini doing quite a heavy roll here, so he's going to be playing around this this Singed, Renata, Vex, you know, as well as the Morgana, you know, rolling quite deep here to stabilize.
It's really interesting. He's actually rolling on 4. So for this build, a lot of people choose to roll on 5 because of the increased chance of the Renata. He really wants the front line in place already. Yeah. Interesting with the item slam as well. He's not actually waiting for the Shojin.
Well, I think if you roll this heavy, you're basically saying I can't lose anymore, right? Like, so, you know, I think if you're going to wait for the Shojin, you keep the loss streak going. You at least wait until see what your next augment is. But with this choice, I do feel like you're committing to being stronger now. Like, he needs to try to preserve HP because he didn't hit anything, and it's going to be more of a slow build towards his full comp.
I think the issue I have with that is that there's players like Xiaoqi in here, and also Title, who also just invested into his board to try and get stronger. So with so many players trying to go for the loss streak, you know everybody else is powering up. And I feel like specifically Stellarmini here could have had the chance to just sit it out one more round, as you are going for the lower cost comps. But We are getting silvers, which
no.
means the power up on Sidera not
Does hit
as
the unlucky
strong.
25% chance. Wow.
Support cache, by the way, I was looking at some of the augment data. By far the most popular augment at the event. It was like, I want to say 2 to 3 times the pick rate of every other augment at the rate. Artifacts really popular in this set, but of course he didn't actually go for it. So, you know, he has kind of maybe feeling like he's too locked into one direction and was nervous about that with the AP line. They're a lot more popular for these AD lines. So since he's already slammed all his AP items, maybe feeling like, hey, I don't really think I want to go towards Zonia's or anything like that, and maybe be risky.
Interesting to see that Title actually picked up rerolls right here. You can tempo into it, and he also does have the buffet, which means any pan he uses should be easy to find what he wants.
Well, Jedu saw Sidera whiff on that power-up and said, well, I listened to Clement. I know on 3-2 I can't get that kind of outcome.
That's the instant
so picks up that power-up, is going to be down that silver for now, but we know that there should be a prismatic waiting at the end for Jedu.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's actually information for the rest of the lobby as well. The fact that we know it's now a silver-gold game, which is basically the lowest augment power you can get. So that's going to kind of nullify sort of that econ start we talked about here. And so, you know, we theorized at the beginning that there'd be some pretty high cap boards, but that's going to push us right back down to a pretty standard game, I think.
Do like the rolls from Minhee. A lot of the discussion was on where the power lies in that Renata line. Is it the Singe and the Morgana, or is it just the Renata? So that's the discussion on rolling 4, 5, or 6.
Well, and we even see some players yesterday were actually rolling on 7, right? And they were doing the Cambaron variant where they were playing more around Nunu and Rennie as the front line and playing kind of this like bruiser visionary style, keeping Cambaron in the entire time. And so there's a lot of different approaches, which is what I think makes it so strong. Title now, very early Heimer here, has 4 Academy in, has a decent front line, is on a 7 loss streak, so he is very rich. And if he can start to stabilize off of this early Heimer, he can just keep pumping levels and be in a really good spot.
Yeah, it's interesting here. Has that frying pan, which, like I said, right now if you're playing this line, you're probably looking at that Sentinel emblem. Yeah. If he can find, you know, a Reforger possibly, could go some other lines as well. The Heimer items are really good. There's not quite the Gunblade, but the fact that you have the blue buff JG as well, and you look at the sponsored items here, 2 of those items being sponsored on that Heimer dinger.
That is pretty good.
So it's not bad here. And again, I've taken a lot of flack over this weekend because, again, going into this event, everyone was like, Heimer's really weak. But Academy Heimer, we have seen be decently successful throughout this event.
There's another one.
Yeah,
we could see a very early Heimer too here, and it also gives him Sentinel.
Wow.
That's probably the best carousel you could ask for.
Yeah, that is going to feel really, really good. It's also interesting, you know, you touched on the power up for Jedustor, but he also is going pumping up. So 2 very heavily scaling augments. You know, yes, this is not the power that you're getting from prismatics and whatnot, but like he's going to have a lot more power from his augments in the late game than most of the other players.
I also want to call out here that we have the Conqueror player right now who's sitting on 4 Conqueror, I believe is hitting around 60 stacks. When you've got so many people in the lobby sort of playing these lost streak lines and not really investing and waiting for their power-ups to go up, that's kind of a free ride for you. And, you know, Vertical Conqueror doesn't normally do that well, but the fact that you're just kind of playing against this weak lobby, that's a way for you to get ahead and sort of scale out of control.
Yeah, it's a really good point because when the stacks get high enough, all of a sudden you're getting so much extra power from that line that Vertical Conqueror can become pretty reasonable. You know, you can push levels a lot more quickly, you're getting additional gold, then all of a sudden you hit a Mord and you're online.
Yep.
Well, you say that as if it's so easy to hit that Mordekaiser. We have been seeing players have a lot of trouble with getting that last puzzle piece on the board, so hopefully that's not what's waiting there. But we were talking about this Sentinel emblem now confirmed on Title's board. I'm really curious on whether or not any of these shops hold that last Heimerdinger copy, because that would be such a big spike.
I mean, the big thing is he's got so much gold right now. I would expect, you know, he goes 8 on 4-1, going to do one of those, you know, high APM roll downs to just try to find one more Heimerdinger. Also try to get the Alawies out of the pool. We've seen a lot of people really fighting over those Alawies. And, you know, for example, yesterday the Setsuko just really couldn't find one because they were all out of the pool. So, you know, I expect him to do a pretty deep roll down right there on the 4-1.
I will say, Title is also one of the players with the highest APM I've personally ever seen. The way he rolls down is incredible to watch.
Yeah, so this is the board I was talking about, by the way. 4 Conqueror, lots of resources here, sitting at 94 out of 100 already. This Darius is really strong, has already found the Ambessa as well, and because he's on such a win streak, the Ambessa is providing that Emissary bonus, giving that extra 14 armor and MR that's going to be really tough for other people to deal with here. Goes up against Tidal, which is going to be one of the harder matchups here, but the fact that he has the Dragon Claw and the Swain too, my money's actually still on the Conqueror player here.
We'll see, though. This Heimer is kind of scaling up pretty fast, but none of the rockets are really hitting backline. It can get a little bit out of hand, but the Swain 2 going to be tough to deal with. And it looks like Heimer, I think, one more cast is going to do it.
Oh, it's close.
The 4 Sentinel, that slam actually makes such a difference there.
Yep.
If you don't slam that pin early and have the 4 Sentinel, he loses that round. So Tidal going 7 loss streak and now on a 3-win streak. He's preserving HP. He's going to be in such an incredible spot.
Look at that, he hit the LeBlanc here as well, so that solves the question of where does the AP items go on. A lot of times Swain is not the one you want on stage 4.
Elise 2 and the LeBlanc and a Rumble, not bad.
Yeah, the big thing I want to call out here is rolling on the PvE round. A lot of people normally would wait and try to greet it and do it on 4-1, but he gets ahead of the curve here, and I think that benefits really well. Finds the Elise, you know, still has 10 gold to work with here. A lot of items here in the Swain carry, so going to be pivoting into that Black Rose line a little bit here, playing around that Swain, so pretty cool.
We see that Tidal also has gone to level 8. Let's see if some of that money is getting invested. But more players are making moves, checking in with
Morden
Lilo.
shot for Meng Chen Yu, but he's not actually the Conqueror player, so we'll see how heavily they want to roll. Lilo on the left is rolling some as well. Did pick up a pair of Elises. Not going to hit the Elise 2 just yet. Is on a pair of Mundos as well, so actually a lot of pairs on bench. And it's going to cause them to roll a little bit more heavily, rolling down basically to true 0 to actually level up some of those pairs.
Man, if you're the Black Rose player and you see 2 other players find LeBlanc here, that has to be frustrating.
Absolutely. A big question for Leloy here is where does the... Okay, though there are the Silco items. I was waiting for them to show up, and then he has all 3 of them on board, so very stable board at this point.
Yeah, Sidera is still just carrying this Zyra for now, and is looking like holding quite a few units on bench, but I'm not sure exactly where he's trying to go with his line, because he's still on 7, still sitting on a lot of gold.
Yeah, definitely struggling a little bit there. Does get a Dominator emblem here for Lilo. That's, you know, I think probably a pretty safe pick here. He's already in that 4 Dominator line. That can get him to 6 Dominator. Now the question is how long will it take to find that Mundo 2 and that Silco 2 to really elevate him up here. Doing a bit of scouting first, though, to make sure that that's the right choice, making sure he's not contested. On the side, by the way, Tidal does get the Heimer 2. That's a big call out here. And sure enough, Dominator emblem here, hopefully pushing him in. Finds the Ziggs right away. And so that is going to give him 6 Dominator, which is really nice early because the flat health shield from Dominator does start to go down in power as the game. But at this point, very valuable.
We are checking in with Jeru, who is the player that picked power-up, so we do have our Prismatic Augment coming on through here as well.
Artifactory. It's a very high power one, but he does have to wait around before he can get most of his items on.
Situ also on power-up, goes for the Randuin's Augment.
Yeah.
I mean, double Jace is always one of those things where it's like, you're on level 8, if you could just hit that, all of a sudden you have something that's going to really propel you in towards the late game.
Yeah, I'm actually a little worried about the situation here, especially with Artifactory. The question is, how many items are you transforming? What do you hit? And it's kind of out of your control a little bit.
Yeah.
It feels like Artifactory on 3-2 is much better. It gives you time to see what you hit and then adapt to it. But on 4-2, this could go very wild and out of control.
I mean, we've talked about this before. I just think it's one of those augments that you want to take when you have, you know, tanks that need items, AP units that need items, AD units that need items. So it's end tempo, as you say, because it's like, if you're locked into a full AD line,
the AP ones are
going to screw you completely.
And I think Jerusa, you know, he got a good role there because he is playing Emissary, so he can flex into all of them. But we did see Tidal actually has the Corki 2 already, which does take some options away.
And it looked like he was re-rolling every single item except for the Even Shroud. So he kept the Shred, and he was re-rolling every other one. So we'll have to actually get back to his board and see how he fared. And as we're watching Lilo up here against... Okay, now we're going to swap over. So this is Sidera against Tidal. And we have Corki 2. He has the Ezreal 2 with that Sentinel emblem. He has the Heimer 2. He's going to be able to take this and did find the 1 copy of the Alawi. Is sitting on a second one on bench as well as that Jace on bench as well. So I don't really feel like he needs to roll anymore. At this point, I feel like he can probably just go 9 unless he's really concerned about all the Alawis getting taken out of the pool.
Really good Jeruso combo coming out here. The trench coat into the Zanya. So it kills the AP items for him as well as giving him a great tank.
Yeah, the value of the trench coat Zanyas is just so much to get through here. Normally we see that on something like a Violet, but that time it was on the Vi, the late game Vi, which can do a lot of work here. And so we're getting to that point here where Minhee, for example, really hit the Renata 3 and the Singe 3, but has been struggling a bit and is getting really low on health here.
Yeah. It's tough. I mean, when you play that sort of a line and the other boards are getting really strong really fast and you're losing early, it's like you generally just bleed out. There's not really a lot of kind of comeback mechanics. You know, you're not just like, okay, well, now I'm going to push levels and cap out high. You know, you're kind of just stuck where you are. You can try to keep rolling and get some of these 2-cost 3-stars, but it is very difficult.
Yeah, so right now looking at the health totals, we have 2 players struggling at sub 20 health. No one going to get knocked out before the anomaly or anything, but Minhee with 2 losses could be out before PvE. On the top end, our 2 world champions are the 2 people that are win streaking. Lilu in particular, 90 health, sitting very comfortably. Our second place player at 89 health, and then Tidal on that 6 win streak right now. So far, looking like the experience is mattering, at least for this game.
Well, it is the first game of the day, and I will say the set champions, you know, they have a little bit more experience in playing under pressure, playing on a big field like this, so maybe that is still subject to change. I do want to talk about C2, though, because we did get a glimpse of that board, and I think he was really hoping for the Prismatic to box him out, finds that random augment, and I don't think that was really what was needed. Maybe the other choices weren't as great, so now is kind of back against the wall.
He does win against Cider, who has the most difficult board to parse out. And we just saw Jedu, so he has no offensive items on his board whatsoever. So that's a big red flag so far.
Yeah, he had double mittens. He had the Mana Zane on his Caitlyn, and then he had that you know, setup that we talked about on the Vi, but could be a little bit difficult.
Yeah, we get our champion view here, and I have to say I like the backline dominator Elise. You see, you know, mostly the time Elise is being used as frontline for that stun, that utility.
Does a lot of damage.
Yeah, but backline does a lot as well, and with the Dominator to scale that up, as well as the adaptive helm sort of acting as that Shojin, you've got decent frontline here. Already hit the Mundo too, you know, has that extra health. So this feels like the kind of game that worst case scenario, you're going like second, maybe a terrible third at worst, but really good position. The only thing that would really cap this off would be finding that Silco 2 to make sure that you've got all the power you need.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tidal's in a really great spot as well. Like, he elected to not continue rolling for that Alawi, which I think is correct. I think you can just push levels. Your board is more than strong enough, you know, to actually get a first place. You're going to need to be 9. You're going to be able, need to get some more legendaries in there.
I was saying he's 50 gold, already found the J, so once he pops that on there, then he can transform the JG into a sponsored item as well. That's just a massive power spike waiting to happen.
Not only that, he's also holding an additional copy of the Corki, which he already has at 2-star. So either looking for the high cap of Corki 3, or just saying, I'm going to deny this a little bit longer for the other emissary players and make sure it's out of the pool for now.
That feels really bad for Jeduso because he was trying to go into that line with the Mana Zane.
That was close. So
It's a little close
gonna
fight.
stay alive.
Yeah, he does have the comeback story anomaly.
Oh, it's
so
calculated.
It's going to have to be a good story more.
it is. It's going to be a bit of a struggle here. You know, DSG not really starting off the way they'd want,
DSG
unfortunately.
curse.
Yeah, a little bit. So we'll see here. But looking at this board here, 145 out of 150 on the Conqueror stack. Still playing around that Swain, but has the LeBlanc as well, the Elise 2, the Ambessa 2. So pretty interesting board there.
Absolutely. It's been a while since we've seen like a Swain full carry, but I think what's interesting is you can actually frontline the Swain with that anomaly. He had Touch of Frost as well, so he can actually move his board. There's a lot of flexibility there.
Yeah, goes level 9 already. Very rich on this side. We talk about how Conqueror was giving those extra rewards. He has so much gold to roll here. Finds the Jace, is going to put that in. And
Speaking of rich.
Swain, yeah, just a lot of rewards here.
Title on 90 gold also goes to level 9. Now Dig Steve tries to find some of these legendary upgrades as well. Side-by-side view of both of our players. Let's see what comes through.
As well, by the way.
Yeah, you know, you just pick up what you find.
We'll see if he's going to actually elect to buy more. Because I think there was another Heimer player, was there not? Or is he the only
No,
Heimer
there was
player?
somebody who had them on their board, but they weren't.
They weren't going to commit to it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it is an angle, right, to actually look for that as an out. You know, already going to be on 5-1, and he still had gold to roll. We'll see if Minhee can survive here, but it's not looking good at all. I do think he's going to be our first player eliminated.
Oh, that Twitch is ramping up.
It's close. It's actually really close.
Oh, no.
So I want to call out here that we took comeback story at 2 health, but we put it on the Renata. A lot of Renata's power is also the shields she provides, and so damage amp isn't really helping those shields. The comp just came online a little too late, unfortunately, and so that is going to be our first 8th place. Good news is you've got, you know, another game, but another 8th here, another 7th, and you might just be out of the way.
Oh, there's a Twitch 3. We just heard the crowd go wild while we saw that camera on Stellar Mini, but that was the reason for it. Huge upgrade on C2.
Now I want to call out here, and you know, this is one of those things that like players will give me grief for, but Twitch 3 actually not one of the more impressive 3-star 4 costs.
True.
The problem with a Twitch 3 is that you still kind of have to ramp up a bit. And the problem is he does only have Mundo 1 on the front line right now. So if somebody were to burst through this Mundo 1 quickly, there is a risk here. We're not like out of the woods just yet. We're in a decent position, but again, that Mundo 2 is going to be really important.
I do agree.
Another player eliminated. Jedusor takes a loss here in that first game as well, and so does Saidera.
Wow, a lot of our, you know, our non-local players.
I was about to say,
out.
did EMEA in America just go 6, 7, 8 here?
Yeah.
Is that what just happened in game 1? That is.
See, that's we don't talk about that.
And so, oh, there's a victor in shop for someone. I can see it.
Yeah.
That's getting clicked.
That's going to be for title.
Yeah.
Champion finds the victor here.
Well, so now for title, you are for sure going for a 3-star 4 cost, right? Like I think
have to.
you have to when someone does hit that kind of a board. Yes, I agree. You know, Twitch needs some time to ramp up, but you still need kind of a giga cap board to be able to actually beat that.
Oh yeah, no, it's still a Twitch 3, right? Like we're talking about like, oh, instead of a 2.1 average, it's like a 2.4. You know, it's still an insanely good champion.
He's
so
on 6 Alawies though, 5 Corkies, 5 Heimers, and 17 gold. So has decent odds to hit one of those, honestly. Like he's got quite a bit of health, 55 health, still wins. You've got like 4, 5, 6 rounds left in this game, and
multiple
you could get
outs.
one of those. Yeah, exactly. You have 3 outs that are all reasonable. There's another Corky, so that would be his 6th Corky. Then it'd be 6 Corkies, 5 Heimers, 5, or rather 6 Alawies as well.
And 2 Jaces and a partridge in a pear tree.
Yep. And 2 world champions.
Yeah, he's got a lot to work with here. But yeah, so right now, gonna keep an eye on that Twitch 3 again. See how that goes. Looking at the board, has not found the hasn't found the Mundo yet. So yeah, title is gonna get up to 6 Corkies here. The question is how long do you hold the gold here, right? Title on this 11 win streak, so feeling really comfortable with that Heimerdinger right now.
Yeah, I mean he's on no gold right now, so he did roll down. So we'll see, you know, what he has hit. He is 1 off Heimer. Now the question is, does he sell the others? So he's 2 off Corky, 1 off Heimer. I don't think at this point you
so
sell.
healthy.
No.
You kind of
just wait
chill.
and roll it down after PvE, or you can roll every phase.
I was gonna say this is a 6-1 roll down for sure.
That's
here.
what I think. Especially like if I only had the Heimers, I might be so worried about them getting taken out of the pool that I'd keep rolling true 0 every round. But I think because you have 3 obvious outs here, I think you can afford to eco up a little bit and see what you hit.
And another point is Citrus has no gold to actually deny him anymore, so he can definitely wait.
We do have another player that might get eliminated in this first game, though Mungchunyu is fighting, trying to beat Xiaochu's board, but it's not enough. One more player out.
Yeah. Definitely felt like the lower hand compared to Li Luo, who rolled faster than him, and they were on the same lines.
Yeah, Victor, not the bailout he was looking for there. The stun, you know, helping a little bit, but not enough to beat the Dominator AP scaling. Just ends up being really strong. And that's the thing with Title's board. Title was on this win streak. He had a really strong board here. And so being able to add that Victor sort of elevates it another +1 that's going to make it pretty hard to top this win streak.
We're getting closer. 1 off the Alawi, 1 off the Heimerdinger.
What beats a 3-star 4 cost? 2
3-star 4 costs.
There we go.
Or 1 better one.
True.
And I do feel like Heimer 3 is going to be a lot harder to beat. But we'll see. They're going to be matching up against each other. We'll see how the Mundo 2 that has been upgraded. Looks like it is giant size there in the middle.
Yeah.
Also
holding one of the Alawi, so has heard at least that call. Doesn't have a lot of gold to work with, but any Alawis and Heimerdinger C2 will find are getting picked up here as well.
That was actually kind of close, which was scary.
That's Twitch for you.
That's what I was saying. Twitch needs that ramp-up time with the Victor slowing down that ramp-up time for 2 seconds. That vulnerability window that the Victor creates also, that's a time to burst down the Mundo where he's not healing. So now, big thing to note here is we are on Scuttle Puddle here.
Yes.
So this isn't going to kill anybody, but this is going to be 2 more item anvils, which means we've got 2 more full items to add to our composition here. And if you look at Title's board, you're either looking at something for the Rumble or something that you can just throw on the Victor for a little bit of extra power.
Oh,
to
wow.
make things quicker.
Look at C2's board. 1 of each holding there on his bench.
Yeah, but there still is 1 more. unit
There's
in the
1
pool.
left, but obviously harder to hit now.
Yep, of course.
Good awareness, good awareness. Okay, Corky's completely out. Let's see if Title spots this. If he knows this, he should sell his Corky's.
Yeah, the thing is, Title's in a position right now where he can wait this out. I don't think you sell here. I think you chill. You're still at 43 health here. You go maybe 2 more rounds and try to make something happen. He also found the Rumble upgrade here, so that's going to be extra power as well. So I'm not too worried about this position.
I think the problem is that the player that's holding the units is C2. So that is the player to be.
not
That
gonna
is
get
the player
knocked out.
that's not getting knocked out. So if you don't want that player to hold more of your copies
look
even
at,
still, you kind of need to make something happen.
Xiaoqi as well is holding a Heimer in the top right and a Corky. So
Only
they're-
Alawi left open.
Yeah, so only Alawi, and that might be out too. We haven't actually seen everyone's board, so they are going to be holding this. They're trying to deny that win condition.
Now, in order to deny the win condition, you do have to deny the wins here, and Title is still playing such a strong board that he is able to win that fight. So, you know, as much as he may not hit this, he may not need them.
You know what's actually funny is I feel like, in a way, if I'm Xiaoqi, I actually would rather have Title get the 3-star because he can then kill the bot player with the Twitch 3.
Correct.
Whereas I think by holding them, all that's going to happen is you're less health than Title anyway. Now you're going to go 3rd instead of 2nd, right?
Agreed.
So I think it's actually better for Title to hit it, kill the Twitch player who's low, and then you say, okay, well, whatever, I go for 2nd.
That depends on matchmaking, though.
It does.
If the Twitch player runs
he has
over
more
you
HP.
first.
He has more HP, though.
With 4 players left, that matchmaking is going to play out. I 100% agree with this play.
I think so.
That's the type of play that, you know, these players may not be as experienced to be thinking about, though. It's not something you would typically do in a ladder, but in a tournament, I 100% agree.
Corky has been sold on the side of Title, but we do have Title going up against Li Luo, and that might be another player getting knocked out here. Cutting it close, Silco does go down, and that will be a big hit for...
We do have to mention there is another 3-star forecast on the board, and Bessa was just found by Sichu. So it's going to be really fun, a double IE.
C2 is out because of that. Lilo also out. That means Title now has a chance to once again find that Heimerdinger.
Oh, Xiaoqi, sorry.
Yeah, Xiaoqi found the Mbessa.
And there's the Alawi 3. The Alawi's hit.
But I don't think the Alawi is going to be enough against the Mbessa. If the Mbessa can get past it at all, right? Like if it's not lined up with it, I think the Mbessa just kind of kills everything, no?
Yeah, so
I
this
feel
is
like generally the carries outpace the tanks.
The Mbessa does not have any lifesteal, though, so that's kind of an interesting thing to keep out.
Let's see here.
But this is a good side.
Oh, this is a fine Mbessa. This is 2 crit items. When this thing casts, things are going to die. Is on the back line here.
No stun from Victor.
Oh, look at that heal.
Yep. It's going to be able to heal up.
Didn't get onto the Corky or the Heimer.
No, yeah, this is not.
And now the Alawi's tanking it, so he's actually going to lose. That was some poor pathing from the Mbessa. I thought he had the right positioning. It ended up going back towards the melee, though, instead of into the back line.
No Heimerdinger in the carousel. That's the big important one.
Yep. Gonna get an even shroud here, maybe give some extra damage to that Mbessa. And
Still lacking armor pendant.
The Alawi, the thing to talk about the Alawi as well is, yes, she's incredibly tanky, but the way the 3-star 4-cost tanks scale is they get a ton of damage as well. So even though like Heimer and Corky might be on the right side, Alawi can just kill things by herself on the left side. So does find a Swain 3 here. That is a decent upgrade. It's no 3-star 4-cost, but it's not bad, and still correctly holding that Heimerdinger just to make sure we don't elevate all the way. That being said, you've got your top 2. You've got to feel really good about this. And, you know, again, the story here has to be Title. You know, we talked about how good he is in Checkmate. Starting right off with either a 1st or a 2nd has got to be scary for the other competitors.
And this time the Mbessa is lined up with the Alawi, which does not bode well for that Mbessa. Both the carries already pummeling this Mbessa. It is trying to heal up, does dash back, and we'll see if that's going to buy the time. The Victor stun's going to come through, though. And again, the Alawi channeling and channeling. That is the damage you talked about, Mort. Lets the hammer drop onto the Mbessa. And that's going to be Title taking game number 1.